Good morning. Good morning. Java Delight will uplift you. Stay tuned. The show is about to begin. Grab your coffee. Stay tuned. This show is about to begin.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and people of all ages. My name is Brandon Croucher, CEO of Delight Cafe, and yes, I am wearing my orange jumpsuit because I wanted to look like I escaped from prison this morning. On my left over here is my wonderful, handsome, and dashingly good-looking. Look at that smile. And he's like nervous behind that smile and all that, and he's still like, ha ha. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Gavin Kerr. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. I'm going to be honest. These past couple days, like, you ever wake up and you feel like kind of drained?
Yeah.
I've been feeling that these past couple days, but I'm still getting stuff done. Like every night I got like a checklist of things that I want to get done the next day, and then every morning I review those things. And as long as I get like half those things done, then I'm pretty happy with my day. So
I like
even
that.
though I've been drained, I've been trying to get at least half my checklist done.
Yeah, and are you keeping on track with that, or is it adding anxiety by seeing things you haven't gotten done?
No, because those things just carry over to the next day. Like I'll have things that like I have to get done today. Things like showering, going to the gym, feeding myself, just like basic stuff like that. Take care of the animals. But then I'll also have things that can carry over to the next day, and it's not the end of the world. Like I had to call what do they call it? An accountant, because I'm now a 1099 employee under the DJing that I do. So I had to call an accountant to get that sorted out. But that was something that it took me probably a week to finally get around to calling him.
Oh wow!
So
okay.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? This is just a random question because I do it as well. You get something on your to-do list to do, and it's something you don't want to do. Like call the accountant and deal with your taxes, right?
Yeah.
Why does it seem to be something that takes us a week? Because you have to get in the right mindset, because you don't really want to deal with it. What makes you not want to make that call first, like when it hits your checklist?
I think it's priority versus procrastination. It's the fact that, one, I didn't really have a desire to call him, even though it only took a couple minutes, and I left a message anyway because he was Memorial Day, so he was gone. But it only took a couple minutes, but I still didn't really want to do it. And then I also had other things that I had to do or felt like were a bigger priority than calling him. So that sort of combination of I don't want to do it, and here's a reason why I can't do it, is what pushed it off for so long. But then eventually the reason of I have to do it became like so great that I was like, all right, I need to call him. I need to get this going.
I get that. I have to call my accountant and get like the business stuff and all that taken care of. It's just one of those things where I hate dealing with the accountant. It's always a big bill at the end of it all, and dealing with them is like you're looking at everything and organizing, and then that one receipt that you bought that like you needed, you can't find, and it's an anxiety. That's why I don't like calling my accountant. you know? But so just by chance, Gavin, did you have your trivia there with you? I forgot to ask before the show.
I do not. It's in my trunk.
Darn it. That's what I meant to ask you, because I think it would have been a hilarious time to play some trivia with Jessica Dugas today and make her laugh this morning. Neil, we have a new one. Neil, good to see you, Neil. Renee Bush.
Neil?
Good morning. Put aside money to pay taxes with 1099. The employer does not have to pay taxes on the SSI. You do. Morning, Mr. Brian Tracy. Brian, I hope you've had a wonderful holiday, buddy. I know you were working yesterday, but sending you good vibes, love, and appreciation. Mandy Atterbury, Sherry McQueen. I'm looking for it. Where'd it go? I saw Bob's name in there. Jessica Dugas, the one, the only. She's probably had 2 kids in the time it took me to read that. Renee Bush, good to see you. Bob Seymour, we're very grateful you're all here this morning. Thank you guys for joining us, and good morning. So, Gavin, you mentioned being tired. You mentioned having all these other things. I'm right there with you. Dude, I feel today. I feel like the whole weekend, I don't think it's a Tuesday. Do you feel like it's Tuesday?
I don't work a regular schedule anymore, and even when I did, as soon as I graduated high school, I kind of forgot what day of the week it is. That's why I put everything in my Google Calendar, because it'll be Tuesday, and I'll think that it's next Monday. I have no idea what it is. Yeah,
I've been there. I've done that. I know exactly what you're saying. It's like, I woke up yesterday and I insisted it was Sunday. And when I woke up this morning, the first thing I did was went on YouTube to go join Project Joy, and completely was like, oh crap, it's Tuesday. I missed it. Jessica's going to beat me. Even after missing the meeting yesterday for everybody, I literally in my head was like, oh no, it's Monday tomorrow. I don't know what these crackers are talking about. You know how it goes. So lose your mind. So Jessica Dugas is on the show today. We're going to have a great time with her. She's got a lot of good stuff coming on. She has a couple good guests coming up this week. Her Friday show, she and I were talking yesterday, and her Friday show is literally, oh, excuse me, that coffee just wanted to come up there. But her Friday show is going to be a great one. She and I were talking backstage, and she is playing, or she was crying because of the way these two connect in their message that they're bringing for their breakthrough. The minute the one guy that she interviews, I have her name, Hannah. I forgot his name. I was trying to write it down and not interrupt her, but I'm going to get it in a second, I have a feeling. Hannah and Joel Cross. They're going to be on her show this week. Hannah, how do you pronounce the last name? Because I'm going to mess that up. Yeah, she's spelling it for me. Dan Guy. She's laughing really hard at me. So we have Hannah. Oh, that's totally different. I'm going to screenshot this and put it in the chat for everybody. It's Hannah and Joel. We're going to go with that. And she literally, Brandon, why are you making Jessica cry? It's good cries. They're happy tears. And she's like, Jessica's 1 in a million, but what's cracking me up is how she's putting these people's names in the back of the chat. So Hannah, Dhanji, and then she spells Dangy, Dangy. So that's how I read it.
Dangy.
No, hold on. Dan G. That's Dan.
Yeah, the second way she did phonetically is Dangy.
I'm not looking at the second one. That was the one I read out loud, the first one. And then she's writing, Brandon, it's the second one, LOL. It is the second one. You just typed too fast, and I read her name wrong. But Jessica had an amazing
So the J-I is G.
I'm not caring. I've moved on from this subject now.
You moved on. She corrected you.
No, I hold on. Jessica Dugas, admit what she's like, he's gonna pull me in. I see it happening. Admit what you did. You spelled it wrong, and then you wrote one was too fast. I thought out, LOL.
I said one was fast. One was a fast reaction. I was trying to be quick, and then I was like, no, wait. And so I typed the other one, and then that one was actually thought out.
Yeah.
I can see it. Like, I could see where your thought process is going with this, but it was absolutely, I'm like, Dan Gee, and I see her go, like, in the background. And
I realized what mistakes were made. I realized what I had done.
You know what? I appreciate the fact that you saw I tried. So Jessica, before I F all of this up, and I can't pronounce their last names, can you tell us a little about your guest this week and how excited you are and why they made you cry, not me?
Joel Cross, by the way, Grammy Award nominated Joel Cross is a guy that I met randomly on TikTok. I saw he was live and he was playing guitar, and it was unbelievable. Like, I literally put it on, set my phone down, had the best sleep of my life after that. Like, it was the most intoxicating guitar playing I'd ever heard. And then the next time I saw him live, he was putting random songs on the radio and just jamming out to them, like things that he had never even heard before, and just the most incredibly naturally gifted guitar player. And then I realized, thank you, Brian Tracy. Then I realized that he was an amazing vocalist as well. I had no idea he could sing as well, because sometimes, people are good at their craft. You don't know what else they can do. And he started singing, and I was like, oh my Lord, voice is like butter. And I was just having this whole moment. And I sent him a message and I said, I didn't know who he was. I didn't know what he had done. At this point, I had only seen him on TikTok. And I sent him a message and I said, must be on my show. Like, you have to come on and talk to me. And he, of course, so gracious and was like, absolutely, I'll come on your show. And I still, at that point, I didn't know his history, didn't know what he had done. I'm just going off of these live videos that I saw. So he books the interview to be on the show, and I go to get ready to meet him on Zoom. And I thought this might be a great time to go actually read his bio, right? Then I go to his site and it's like, on India Ari's album, Grammy nominated, videos went viral because he covered a Taylor Swift song, like all of this. And I'm like, I had no idea. So now 10 minutes before the interview and I'm nervous, and I was like, what on earth am I going to do? But it was great. And he is so kind and so talented. So he has an incredible background. He's one of 8 children. And I actually got to see his parents live on TikTok as well. They are musicians as well. And it's the coolest thing. So we're talking to him and he plays his song, and this song just made me completely cry during the interview. And then I cried earlier as I was editing the segment, because it's so good. And it hits you in that moment. Sometimes, music has the ability to do that, where, if you're in this place in your life and you're working on certain things, and then the lyrics or the music of the song just hits you and you're like, oh God. And, it's good. So that's Joel.
I love it.
Joel is fantastic. And then Hannah Donji is her name. And you'll be able to hear Friday that I butchered it in the beginning. I called her Hannah and not Hannah. So I messed that up. What on earth, Brandon?
I called her Hannah because I literally was like, wait, didn't she say Hannah this morning? And then you're like, Hannah. And I'm like, son of a bitch, I got neither name right.
Yeah, it's Hannah Donji. And she is literally, I mentioned when I talked to you about her, that she has about as many, I think she actually might have one more degree than you. Like, she's so accomplished and extremely young. She was an attorney on Wall Street and is now doing executive coaching. She is trained in psychology, hypnotherapy, NLP, a lot of these very woo-woo things in a not so woo-woo world of being a lawyer. And she had the most incredible upbringing, because I don't want to misquote, so you'll have to watch Friday, but her mother and father are from very different places in the world. And they had this incredible upbringing of where they always encouraged them as being the children to question everything, to, you know, you read this in the book in school, but then let's come home and talk about it. Let's talk about what wasn't in the textbook. And I was so uplifted by this, because that has been one of our biggest reasons why we homeschool, was for that opportunity for our kids to question what's outside of the textbook. So Hannah's got an incredible story. All I can tell you guys is you got to have the tissues for Friday, because she is so inspirational, and then Joel as well, and his music. So get the tissues, and it's going to be great.
I love it. I love it. Jessica Dugas, everybody. She's going to be making sure to push this, and like, we're going to be watching. I'm going to be watching. I know, even if I have it as a background noise, just surrounding the house with positive sounds and positive voices of people wanting to change the world. Yeah, I love that. I have a question about one thing. You mentioned your homeschooling thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. With homeschooling, how does that, like, have you noticed your kids being able to excel in certain areas different than if maybe they were at school compared to kids running around? Just like you're able to give them that individual, okay, little Philip, you're able to have math you're good at, while little Jessica over here, she's really good at science. Are you able to help them maximize their talents being a homeschool mom?
Yeah, I think so. And I really allow them to take the lead on that. If they're feeling, and to come from it also from a place of non-judgment, if they're feeling really passionate about a certain area on Monday, and Friday they're not feeling that passion in that area, then go do that other thing. Because you never know where that's going to lead to. And that ties into the conversation that I have with Hannah on the show on Friday, because we're talking about there's so much education in simply asking a question. Like, how do you feel about this? What is your level of passion about this particular thing? Do you want to follow something else? And I let them go do it, because this is supposed to be the age where they're supposed to be playing and exploring and figuring it out, or at least starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together, so that when they grow up, they're like, oh, well, I got to really, try all these different things, and this is what I love to do.
I love that. Gavin's young. He's still 21, and he's got a wealth of knowledge. And I'm not going to say he's not mature for his age or anything, but being young, he still has a lot of things he's picking up and learning in life. He's going to have a lot of things. And don't get me wrong, so am I. I'm 40 soon. 2 years. And I think that you're saying is the best. Like, they're learning where their best qualities are. They're learning who they are. And I think that Gavin joining our team the way he has fits it as he's developing in. And I learned from Jessica, because Jessica has a different thing. It's about seeing what's best in individuals and helping them bring that out. And that's why you need different everything. All right, wait, you did have one thing this weekend. You had a birthday party. I did.
And that's what I was going to tie this all into what you're saying too, because it's perfect, actually. This is the start of our birthday season, as we call it here in Dugas household, because my oldest son turned 20 on Sunday. And awesome. I'm having a whole moment with this, because it's just one of those things where it's like, I am down a teenager. Like, there's one less teenager in the house now. And the conversations, though, as you're talking about what's beautiful about this show, and it really ties into what's beautiful about the Breakthrough Show as well, is we have people from all different walks of life, people from all different age groups, and those perspectives and bringing those into our knowledge is what has a potential to make us better people, is to take all these different perspectives. Because me and you, Brandon, at 20 years old, it was a different world than Gavin at 21 years old, right? And it's the same thing that I try to remember with my son. Your guest yesterday, I believe, I think it was the one yesterday that said something to the effect of, the world when I was younger, that doesn't exist anymore.
Correct.
That's not a thing. And as nostalgic as I am, and as hard as it is for me to hear that, because I'm like totally still in 1985, but but I love that. But so part of it makes me sad, because I think there's a lot of things, and that's why I do my Throwback Thursday show the last Thursdays of the month, because I think there's things we could learn from that time, from the 80s and 90s, when things were a little bit simpler, right? But we have to understand that times are different now. So he kicked off birthday season. My daughter's is a week from today, my oldest daughter. And then my two youngest actually share a birthday. I don't know if you knew that, but
What? Are they twins?
No, they are not twins. I had Leah while we were opening gifts on Jocelyn's second birthday.
Wow.
That's actually cool as hell.
We kind of, I felt so bad for, like, I'm literally in labor feeling bad for Jocelyn, going, she's going to feel like her birthday was like taken away from her, because we literally opened gifts, and then I had to, because Leah came very fast. So we had to open gifts and get out the door. And
I love how you have so many kids that you have such a mathematical phenomenon.
I know it. I know.
Right.
But Leah, and I think Leah was waiting. Leah was 2.5 weeks late. She was 2.5 weeks past her due date. I was a miserable 42-week pregnant person.
Oh,
I was a few weeks late with my mother too.
Bless your mom, because it's rough when it's that time and you're kind of like, would you just hurry up already? But it was my most beautiful experience and my most healing birth, because birth is, for the mother, can be a very traumatic experience. It's a beautiful thing, right? We have this child that comes into the world, but it can be a very traumatic experience. And I actually ended up with Jocelyn having an emergency C-section. First time I had ever had a C-section. I was forced into it. It's a whole story behind it. I should not have been. There was no danger to myself or Jocelyn, but the doctor, again, long story. Hey, Jester and CK. So when I had Leah, it was this completely opposite experience. Leah came very quick. It was a completely natural birth, VBAC, as they call it, which is a vaginal birth after cesarean, which can be a dangerous thing according to the world of medicine. But I did it, and it was an extremely healing experience for me too. So that's our 4 birthdays are in this area, and then the other 2 kids are at the end of September 1st. They're bunched together too at the end of the year. So
yeah.
So wow, you really do have a lot of birthdays coming up. Then you have, and how many kids did you have while telling us about this?
42.
The math doesn't add up on that. I have a mathematical equation here. Hold on.
Now, do these birthdays count as Christmas as well, or then is that like the cherry on top of the cake? You have birthday season, then Christmas right afterwards.
No, because they're early. Sky and Margine are end of the last week of September, first week of October. So they're right before the whole Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. They're before all of that. So I wish I could lump it all in, but here we are.
I see.
So with that, I'm going to switch topics really quick to something and have fun. All right? Not that wasn't fun. But, oh my God, this coffee's hurting me today. I switched coffees, and I now have the hiccups and burps. Sorry, guys.
Ooh, so hiccups, hold your breath as long as you can, swallow twice, and then breathe out of your nose. It resets your diaphragm.
All right, hold on. Tell me that again.
I did it yesterday.
All right,
so hold your breath.
Hold on. I'm going to do this and hold my breath, because I can hold my breath for a long time. But you and Jessica, while I'm holding my breath, have to start with the gratitudes. All right? Because we haven't done it yet. And what you're grateful for. And then I want you guys to read these and help me figure out these names, because apparently I really am bad at names, but we're going to have some fun, especially because the second one is not spelled correctly. It is not de kick, it is de cock. So we're going to make sure we read these correctly and have fun with it and get the names right. But what are you grateful for first? While I hold my breath, count to 30, breathe 12 times, and then breathe just out my nose.
Why are you making this more complicated than it needs to be? Just hold your breath and then swallow twice. Swallow twice and then breathe out your nose. Slowly exhale out your nose. It'll reset your diaphragm. Your hiccups will be gone. Okay. Anyway, what are you grateful for, Jessica?
I'm actually as stressful as it can be. I'm actually grateful for birthday season. Chester, I can't ever focus when he's in the comments. My youngest got up early this morning and she says, "Is it my birthday now?" And I said, "No, but it is the start of your birthday month." And, and she started getting really upset. And I said, "Well, let's do this. Let's make a countdown calendar. And you can cross off a day every day till we get, and then you'll know exactly when your birthday is, right?" So she says, "Okay." So we go through, we make this little calendar. And she puts a heart around her birthday, and then we have to put another one because Jazzy shares her birthday. And then she says, she looks at her calendar and she said, "But wait, when's Nini's birthday?" And I said, "Well, hers is this day." And she said, "Well, we have to put a star on that." So she makes this little calendar. But what I'm grateful for is that I have a soon-to-be 5-year-old child who never just thinks of herself. Here she is making a birthday countdown for her birthday. And she said, "Well, we can't forget about Nina." And then she says, "Well, when's Margine?" And I said, "Well, that's not even this month, but that doesn't fit in this calendar." But that's what I'm grateful for that. It really warmed my heart when she said that this morning.
That's pretty awesome. It's pretty amazing. There's something about when you see little kids who are not only like self-aware, but aware of the people around them. It's like you can tell that's something special. I feel like it's almost a trait. Like I feel like it's almost a genetic trait where there are little kids who just naturally care about other people. They naturally are concerned about the group and not just themselves. That's something special you got to watch out for.
I think that's childlike faith in my eyes. It's what we're supposed to be. You're supposed to not be judging others, and you want to care for others before yourself. That doesn't where we fail as adults, we start to get hurt and we drop our boundaries more. But we don't need to get into that. We're doing gratefulness.
Okay.
Just I can ADD us every which way, and you guys know that.
Oh, we know.
Okay.
All right, Gavin. You're up, buddy. What is your gratefulness? What are you grateful for today?
Yeah, I'm grateful for I'm grateful for the sky. Yesterday, I wanted a hammock, so I built a hammock, and I spent probably an hour and a half just staring at the sky during the day, and I realized how long it's been since I've just like looked at like a summer sky. You know, I saw one of our airplanes flying through, polluting the air. I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty. Look at the white trail." And I looked at some of the actual clouds, and those are cool. And but for the most part, it was a pretty clear blue sky. I really enjoyed that. And then later, last night, I thought to myself, you know what? It's still warm out, and I grabbed a pillow and blanket, and I went outside, and I ended up sleeping in the hammock till it got freezing when I came back in. But I stared at the night sky for a while, and even though I have all the light pollution of being in the city, I still could see some of the stars. But it was just really nice and calm, and it was very enjoyable. And I thought to myself, "Wow, it's very simple, but the more you stare at it, the less simple it becomes because you start to realize that it goes forever, and then you start to think about what forever really is, and it's just beautiful to me because it's something that at first glance is just nice and simple and calm, but it can be as complex as you make it the more that you stare at it and really start to think about what the universe is. So
True.
Thankful for the sky.
So I think that's phenomenally said because you're being grateful for how you could be a speck in this timeline of Earth, of existence. And you're like, wow, I'm lucky enough to be one that gets to enjoy this moment. And I love that. That was a grateful thing. Gavin built a hammock for anybody that didn't hear earlier. He literally went outside and was like, "I'm gonna do something for me. Him and I were texting in the morning, and I'm like, I'm hanging a hammock. He's like, yup, doing it. And I'm like, wow, that was easy to convince him. He built your hammock's beautiful too, buddy. Did it hold you up all right? Because you built that from scratch.
Yeah, it did. I took a huge piece of inch.
I'm going to read Chad's comment while he's frozen. Is he trying to say he went outside to pee? In between perfectly.
Yeah, there we go. But so I just cut this 10-foot pole in half, hammered it into the ground, and then put the hammock on. I didn't weave a hammock. I bought the actual hammock part itself. But then I put that on there.
You weaved that hammock.
I thought about it. In all honesty, like if I had the I do have the patience. I probably could have just weaved a hammock. But then I got to buy rope, and that would have taken so much longer. Forget that.
Now I have Dreamweaver stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Whoa, Dreamweaver. I believe.
When I put the poles in the ground, I made the mistake of putting them straight up. And so when I first laid in the hammock, it was like 4 feet off the ground, and then my butt was touching the ground because the poles bent in. So thankfully, I have some road spikes or some huge like bars that are just in the backyard for my stepdad, and so I stuck those in the ground, and I made 2 counter poles with more rope that I had in the garage, and now it's fine. It holds.
You're so
nicely.
crafty, Gavin. You're so every time I come on the show, you're talking about you made a bed, you made a hammock, you made I'm trying to figure out
things. I don't like buying things. Like if I can make it, why the hell would I buy it? You know, it's just it's cheaper this way. I spent maybe like $25-$30 on this hammock. So I'm pretty happy about it. Like altogether, I'm pretty happy about that. Plus, now it's actually been a wonderful pickup line. I was talking to people the other day, and they're all like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm in this hammock that I just built." And they're like, "Oh my God, you built a hammock?" I was like, "Yeah, I wanted a hammock, so I built a hammock. It's no big deal." They're like, "Wow, I love hammocks." I'm like, "Oh well, I guess I'll have to build a second one."
Listen, I just want to say, I think it's amazing that you have a hammock at 21 years old. My grandfather, I remember he was not far off from retiring when he was like, I need a hammock. And he felt like he had made it. And so you've made it. You're 21 and you've made it, Gavin.
You have no idea how much
luxury.
It is.
I was building it, and my neighbor was next to me, and she looks at me and she goes, "Oh my God, I'm so jealous." I'm like, "It's not a speedboat. What the hell it's a piece of cloth and some sticks." Like,
yeah, but the thing is, that piece of cloth and sticks takes you to your own world. Like yesterday on mine, when I heard my parents' friends and I just wanted to be reading CK's book, I wrapped the other 2 parts around me and I held it like this. So I'm literally reading her book, looking out at the trees, and everybody thought I was like taking a nap, but I was getting to read. It's funny. Jessica, have you laid in a hammock recently? When's the last time you laid in a hammock? See, this is the thing. Gavin, I think when we go down there after everything's available and we're allowed to go down, we need to bring a hammock for Jessica and Phil. And I mean that 100%.
The last time I've laid in a hammock was probably the last time I could get out of one safely.
I'll teach you how to get out of them safely. For real. It sounds ridiculous, but there is a trick to it. And when you teach people it, they're like, how the hell did I not think of this? And like, I'm not even playing. I love to hang over high up areas where if I get in wrong and I flip backwards, guess what? I'm going to go for a ride down a hill usually. Brandon,
you are underestimating how graceful I am. My mother, if you are watching this right now, it has stayed with me that my whole life growing up, you called me Grace for a reason. I try, but I have talent to do things like who trips up the stairs? Me. Like I'm telling you, if you could get me out of a hammock, maybe my life will change.
So, all right,
What
I'm
are
gonna
you people
have.
doing? Why is it so difficult to get out of a hammock? I'm so confused. Like I just no, this is what I do. I'm laying in the damn hammock, I'm nice and relaxed, and then when I want to get out, I just put one leg on each side and stand up.
So, Jessica, your feet go to the opposite ends, so and you sit up, and it's like a chair then, and then you could just swing your leg over to the side you want to get out of, and it's literally like a chair, and you can swing back and forth, back and forth. This is fun. And then literally put your feet down, stand up, and you're out. It's like getting off a swing for real. I promise.
It sounds like another great way for me to get a concussion is what it sounds like.
So what you're saying is we need to video this.
No.
All right, so here's what we're going to do then. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to come to your house. I'm going to come to your house, and I'm going to build you a hammock with a pulley system. So that way, whenever you want to get out, you just turn this crank, and it will lower you down gently to the ground, and then you can get up from the laying down position on the floor. Okay? You can stand up, you can sit up, you can alligator roll. I don't care how you get out of it, but you'll be safe on the ground to exit this.
CK has it though. CK is absolutely right. It is not easy for us that are vertically challenged, and those of us who are actually shaped like a T-Rex. Okay,
I love this.
How tall are these hammocks?
Little short arms.
Yeah,
little short legs. Round in the middle, short body. I'm a T-Rex without the tail.
I don't use my arms to get out of a hammock.
Listen, I would get out. I just roll like onto the ground. That's how I get out of a hammock.
I'm so
Put
sorry.
it on the grass.
This is like the best one ever. So all right, look, first things first. I love this, like the vertically challenged and all that. She's 100% right. From hammock to mannequin. I love that.
Mankini.
Well, that's because, that's right. Because earlier he asked Gavin if Dreamweaver in a banana hammock. I could see, can't you see Jessica's just singing in the background? This is a TikTok video waiting to happen.
It is.
Dreamweaver. And then all of a sudden Gavin stands up.
Oh my God. Last night I had a dream. Speaking of banana hammocks and me being nude, I had a dream last night where
no one
I was
said nude.
Okay, when I think of a banana hammock, you're pretty much naked. Anyway, I had a dream last night, and I woke up pissed off at my best friend Logan because of it. I had a dream that I was at like his cousin's birthday or something like that, and I was completely naked for whatever reason. I was like, yeah, everyone's gonna be dressed up casual. It's a birthday party, so I'm just gonna go completely naked. Barack Obama was there as well, giving a speech, looking at me very disappointed, and I'm sitting in the very, very back, embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed because I'm completely naked. I'm embarrassed because everybody else is in like really expensive suits for some reason. So not only am I underdressed, I'm not dressed at all for this occasion. And I look at Logan in my dream. Yeah, I look at Logan in my dream. And I say, hey, man, can you go give me some shorts real quick? And he's dressed like a normal human being. So I'm like, hey, man, can you go get me a pair of shorts really quick at least? Like, I don't need a shirt. I just need to make sure that I cover up my stuff for like public indecency reasons. And he goes, oh yeah, no problem, man, I got you. And then he goes in his room and he comes back wearing a suit. I'm like, what the he looks at me and goes, well, I felt self-conscious that everybody else was in a suit and I wasn't. So I was like, where are my shorts? He's like, I don't have any shorts for you. I just woke up pissed off at him.
I'm going to read this out loud. I'm proud to say I've never had a banana hammock dream. Thank you, baby Jesus. Hilarious. Mike says that the tail is where the strength is. The kangaroo with attitude. Excuse me as I hiccup there. Man. Jay Bird hit it right on the head. The new Delight course. Happy Hammock Days. And I 100% want to do something like that where we literally turn around and have a day where we're like, if you're signed up for part of our community, you're signing up, you get a hammock. And it's a green hammock. That way you see the green. Bye, Gavin. He does not like this idea, apparently. He's like, screw Brandon's idea of hammock days. I'm just going to go build everybody one. And he really did leave. I think his phone died because he's gone. But I would love to have a day where I have like everybody can have their own hammock. My hammock's this big, and then when I unroll it and I hang it, all the ropes and everything, Jessica, you and Phil could lie in this together and then unfold it, go anywhere with it. I swear to God, I swear. Do you want to know why I know that? Because I've had me, my mom, and both my sisters in this hammock at one time because they thought it was funny to all jump on me.
Do you know that Phil is a whole foot taller than me?
Yeah. How tall is Phil? Is he 6 foot what?
He's between 6'1" and 6'2".
So that's perfect. The hammocks for 6'5" and up. Or 6'5" and down. Sorry.
It seems it just is one of those. Well, you know, it's going to be a viral TikTok is what it's going to be.
I think I will make sure that when we come down there, we'll set up a video camera and have it, or set up the cell phones at like multiple angles. So when you flip, we can literally go to the other side and it's TikTok video of you spinning in the hammock.
It will be a thing. Get ready for it. If I thought my other TikTok had a lot of views, just wait.
Just wait. So Jessica, let's talk about Friday while Gavin's getting ready to come back. He's fixing some stuff up. So Friday, you've got these two guests on that I cannot pronounce their names correctly, apparently.
Joel Cross and Hannah Donji.
Yeah, Joel Cross. I can pronounce that one with ease. He's Joel. He's Cross. He's JC, just like Jesus Christ. Got it. Next, Hannah
Donji.
Hannah Donji. I keep wanting to say Hannah. I hear Hannah in my head. So Hannah Donji is here and is going to be on. Tell us a little more about Hannah. And that way we're able to like have everybody get excited for you.
Yeah. So like I was saying about Hannah, she grew up in a very multicultural family, and that really paved the way for her to ask more questions, and her parents really encouraged that, and she went down this road of getting these different degrees because it's what she thought she needed to do in order to be successful. And what's really so emotional about our conversation that we have on Friday is that she gets to this point where she realizes that I use this phrase when I in our conversation, that she's being robotic, that she's doing all the things she's quote unquote supposed to do in order to be successful, in order to appease all of the people in her life that want her to be this picture of success. And she talks about when she started making the shift into doing coaching, and she had people looking in going, what on earth is Hannah doing now? And it made me really think about times in my life where people have had different expectations for me. And I've always sort of been the rebel. I've always kind of done the opposite of what people wanted me to do. And I don't know, I think there's part of my, and I think Gavin has talked about this before too, part of my demeanor, my purpose, my calling is to show people the other side of things. And a lot of times I feel like that's been through my own actions. So anyway, our conversation really said to me that looking back at our journeys and seeing like what were others' expectations of us compared to the expectations of ourselves, and how do we, if we're in that space of everybody expecting certain things from us and are expecting things of ourselves, how do we then get out of it? How do we leave that and go to something that we're really passionate about or something like that? And a lot of what she talks about I'll give you just a little snippet, is to begin to ask yourself questions of what are you really passionate about, what really lights you up, and learning to take the feedback of others as kind of a grain of salt, as kind of being, it's valuable, but to be intentional about how you use that feedback.
I like them. Very well said. Very well said. So giving the listeners, you've given us all something and a reason to like watch this Friday and all that. What do you remember the name of the song that Joel Cross is going to sing? I remembered without having to cheat and look. What made you cry about his song? Why does this song bring tears?
The song is called Tables Will Turn. And you can, I mean, just from that, it's the reminder that things are always changing. And that in your lowest moments, in the moments that you are going, this can't possibly get any better. I'm not even sure if it can get any worse. I just know that it's bad where I'm at, or I'm stressed where I'm at, or things seem impossible where I am. Yeah. That at any moment, the tables can turn, and they will. They will. Eventually they will. It's got the most soothing melody of course, he's playing guitar like underneath that it just could put you to dreamland. But with this very reassuring over and over, he sings, tables will turn, tables will turn. Like, and it's just this, it's almost this mantra of the table. Look, it's okay. You're okay where you are. And it's that reminder to be present. You and I have talked about this a lot recently, about the importance of being present and being in the moment, and really just, imagine the possibility. And this is what I was talking about on Project Joy on Monday. Imagine the possibility if, when we're going through something, instead of getting into this freak out mode of going, oh my God, the world's coming to an end, right? What if we said, imagine what this is going to lead to. Imagine what this is going to create. Imagine the space this is going to create for me to create something new in my life. Imagine what this struggle is going to lead to. Now, it doesn't mean that we're not going to feel in the moment, God, this is horrible, from a very human, raw perspective. But just the possibilities. Imagine if we just say, oh, I wonder what this is going to do. I wonder where this is going to go. And that's something that I've really had to train myself over the last little while. And I'm sure Hannah did, and Joel did in his journeys as well. Just to, when you're going through the fire, to say, imagine the possibility of what could be, or what this is going to lead to, or what this is going to create.
I love that. Very well said. Oh man, I'm already interested, guys. The Breakthrough Show is going to be this Friday. Gavin disappeared on us. Did your phone die, buddy? We missed you.
No, I got a phone call from a number that I did not recognize, and I always want to answer those, because sometimes it's a telemarketer and I just hang up on them, but other times it's something very important, which that was. I'm glad that I took that call. So that was not one that I wanted to miss.
So I actually have to have fun with Gavin for a second. We all know last week Gavin had trouble with his Wi-Fi. He was not enjoying it. It was upsetting his week. And he was doing his best to put on a good face for everybody. And he did a great job. I'm going to compliment you on that. Now, at the end of that, would you say that it worked out for the – he's already smiling. Gavin, was all that anxiety and all that stress at the end of it worth the final outcome of what happened at the end?
Yeah, absolutely it was. It most definitely was worth the outcome.
Go ahead, Jessica. You could ask questions. What was the outcome?
What was the outcome?
Can I answer?
I might have probably made the IT girl that helped me out with my internet fall in love with me over the phone.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
And see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Look at how this ties in, okay? This is exactly what. Now imagine, okay, you're in the midst of going through this bullshit with your internet, okay? And it's not working pissed. For you. I know you were. But imagine if in the middle of that you go, I wonder what this is going to lead to. And then now here you are, because usually we don't say that or see that until it's upon reflection, right? When we look back and we go, what, this was for good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What if in the moment we realize it's for good? And so, I mean, look at what happened. It's like the love boat.
I know. And now if I ever go to the Philippines, I have a place to stay. So I'm very happy about that.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And he cracks me up. I get this random text. So I think I just made the customer service rep fall in love with me. She gave me her real name and everything. I'm like, wait, what? So I have to call. I'm like, all right, you need to fill me in. How did this happen?
Yeah.
And it was because they're not allowed to like really like you're not going to get them to be your friend on Facebook.
Yeah.
You're not going to get them to do anything. And Gavin is smooth as butter, as Jessica would say. And he's like, so if I wanted to write a review, and I'm like dying at his pickup
That's
lines.
not what I said. So what I said was, I said,
I knew I'd get it.
You son of a bitch. Yeah, well, we're talking, and I asked her how her day is. You know, if you show somebody customer service, take for somebody who did customer service for 6 years, if you show some human decency, oh my God, you're pulling on our heartstrings right there. Like that is the one-way ticket, my friend. And so we're talking about her day, stuff like that. And she's from the Philippines, so she's got a really cute accent. You know, I really enjoy I really enjoy accents. Hi, is this Peach?
I just can't, you guys. So Gavin's a singer, and I'm literally seeing. This is me walking around with a musical in my head. I'm hearing all of this as a musical. You don't understand. Yeah. Like I'm literally hearing Gavin. Hello, yeah, it's been a while. Not much. How about you?
Yeah. So we're talking, and we end up starting to be like a little flirty with each other, like just. No like comments, but in the tones of our voice, I can start to hear it. And she asked me if my issue's fixed. I go, well, I kind of don't want it to be fixed. She says, well, it doesn't have to be fixed yet. And I was like, oh, well, then I'm definitely not scrolling through Facebook right now.
I think he needs to call
Just
her back.
In case
his internet's
you might have to call her back, Gavin. See?
Like right now, this is probably why they were able to talk. He was able to get a full sentence out over the phone.
So.
He can't get one out over the internet.
I know.
I feel bad. I feel
Let's
like
try
I'm
that.
interrupting.
I was on my data. No, I was on my data, so I usually stay on my data just to keep it off of the internet, keep things running smoother, but I switched now. But anyway, and so I'm talking to him like, well, in case your superior, your higher up is listening, and they want to see what kind of customers they have, you know, for research reasons, for the company, for research reasons, then they can look me up on Instagram. And I gave her my Instagram. She's like, well, I can't promise that anything will happen. I was like, oh no, that's fine. No, I don't want. I want to be professional right here. This is very exclusively for your higher ups for research reasons. And then, like an hour later, I got a message.
I love it.
That was my favorite part. Is I get a screenshot of it, of the message saying, and she was so like, I don't know if this is going to get me in trouble or it's going to be worth it. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you, Gavin. Get the random IT girl's phone number.
Yeah.
I'm going with IT girl.
Cheers, Gavin. That was fantastic.
Yep.
Cheers
to Gavin. Congrats, buddy.
It was a fun time. Yeah. She's very sweet too. Yeah. Oh. So now if I ever go to the Philippines, I got a place to stay.
I'm here for it. This is awesome.
I think we need to video him going to the Philippines at the same time as Jessica getting on a hammock. I think this.
I don't think the internet can handle all this. I don't know.
These are like future advertising things with us. AKA, oh my God, yes, I love this. CK Ford came up with the new name for Gavin, Mr. Smooth. And
that
I think
almost makes me want to shave my head, in all honesty.
No, this show has entirely too many bald people already.
My favorite is, ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is Mr. Eric Bowe, and he has done over 1,000 brainstorming sessions to tell and loves telling behind-the-scenes stories, plus fun ways to inspire teams to generate big ideas. He loves jamming ideas with different clients, different teams. Over the past 2 decades, he's led sessions of businesses ranging from Fortune 500s like Bob Evans, ALDI's, Jeep, Pure Michigan, Ameriprise, HoMedics, White Castle, and Shell Oil, just to name a few. He didn't name drop anything there or anything. He is the author of Brainstorming with Da Vinci. By the way, he taught Da Vinci how to paint. You can ask him about that in a second. I love making Jessica laugh. It just makes my day. Many companies believe in brainstorming does not require a skill or expertise. Just throw people in a room and flip chart or sticky notes, and then poof, magic happens. Yeah, not so much. The reality is that brainstorming and training your employees for business create an idea gap between the potential of the brainstorming team and the ideas being generated. With the writing of the book, Brainstorming with Da Vinci, Mr. Eric Bowe tries to fill the idea gaps. Driven by his creative passion as a lifelong student for the creative process, he has a passion for reading stories, watching documentaries, and famous artists, songwriters, writers, inventors, filmmakers. Whew! He is fascinated with the stories on artists that they create their masterpiece. It is really, when he wrote his book, I have one last thing. When he wrote his book, I combined his practices and brainstorming with different methods artists, writers, actors, and musicians use to create a masterpiece or give memorabilia and performance. The book draws on inspirations from eclectic array of creative celebrities, including Jackson Pollock, Jay-Z, Amanda Follier, Daniel Day-Lewis, Lady Gaga, and a few more. This is going to be a fun interview. And why did I have to bring him up? Because Jessica is going to be, I'm going to play Jessica's theme song to help her as she leaves, because I didn't do it at the beginning. But I'm going to have her see where her comment goes. And this is now a requirement for all of our guests. So Jessica, do you have anything else before I bring in Eric? He's already laughing. Do you have anything else you want to add before we go on and talk with Eric?
I just appreciate being here as always, and make sure you watch the Breakthrough Show Friday at 12 p.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook, YouTube, E360 TV.
Hey, Jessica, do you have a toothbrush nearby?
I don't. Why?
You might want to go get it, because I think you're about to taste feet.
Yeah. You might want to. All right, hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Jessica's thing, and then... Hello, Eric. Thank you for joining us and being in the background, having a wonderful sense of humor with us today, and keeping the tradition of bald men being sexy alive. Thank you.
Glad to be here. It's nice to know I'm following Banana Hammock. I mean, that was quite an interesting conversation.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know which way it was going to go.
Here.
The art of the hammock is underrated. Let's put it that way.
It is.
Yeah, 100%.
I slept in it so probably 4 a.m. last night, and then I got really cold and I came inside. And I got to tell you, I felt so light and my back felt great when I woke up. Like, it kept my feet elevated at the perfect angle the whole time. You know, it was good. Tempur-Pedic doesn't have anything on a hammock. I got to say it.
All I got to say is you have to post a schematic of how you created that thing. I followed you about halfway through, and then I got lost when you were pulling stuff out of your garage or whatever it was.
I can definitely. I got to make a second one for whoever decides to come over and join me for fresh squeezed lemonade and hammock time. So I'll make a time lapse of that for you. Nice.
I love it. I love it. So I'm sorry, I'm trying to type a joke and I can't spell. So it's a temper. So you're creating the temper hammock.
Oh, that would be hysterical.
That's the new name of your. Yep, there we go. So Eric, you have done a lot of great things. First thing off the bat is the brainstorming with Da Vinci, an entertaining approach to lead next level brainstorming and generate actionable ideas. As I stumble over my words this morning, can you tell us a little bit about painting with Da Vinci and like what made you come up with all of this? How did you come up with this?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, my career, I've been bouncing around a lot, possibly has to do with being in marketing, but also a lot has to do with ADD. And so I would get bored with jobs really quick. Yeah. You'll enjoy this, by the way. Actually, during the .com boom, I rode the wave for about 12 years and I had 8 jobs in 12 years. When the dust settles, I realized what I really love doing the most in marketing is generating ideas and leading teams to generate those ideas. And it just, the creative process has always mesmerized me. I'm passionate about coming up with ideas. It's sort of like you get this creative high when you know you hit one out of the ballpark. Mm-hmm. So about 3 years ago, for some reason, and maybe this had to do with the ADD, I was just sort of counting up how many different brainstorming sessions I ran, and it was well over 1,000. And so I thought, you know what? I bet there's something interesting in here that could be a book. So went out, looked, and a lot of the books out there are good, but they tell you more personally how to brainstorm. There's very few, if any, that tell you how to lead a session. You can get a group of people to just get out of their comfort zone and come up with something really freaking cool. So that's why I wrote the book.
I love it. I love it. Why painting with Da Vinci? What was it about the Da Vinci that made it stand out to you?
I'm only laughing because I probably have to rename the book now. It's Brainstorming with Da Vinci.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, brainstorm.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
I keep saying it wrong because I'm like, oh, Da Vinci. I love Da Vinci paintings and stuff, and I'm like sitting here. My fault. Brainstorming with Da Vinci. How do I brainstorm with Da Vinci? How can I have like my team. You saw Jessica. We have Gavin. If we're gonna start a brainstorming session, how do I Da Vinci this?
How you Da Vinci it? It's like there's 5 things you can do, and this is let's pick a topic because it's more interesting.
Okay.
Right? Let's say we're going to come up with an innovative hammock just for the fun of it. So the old school is like, okay, you got 2 trees, you got everything, you're good to go. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we're going to do something better. We're going to create a quad hammock.
Ooh. Okay.
All right. So that's the first thing. So that's sort of your North Star. What do you really want to get out of this? Now, that's an idea already, but you sort of figure out, well, what do you want to do? Whether you're brainstorming on topics for your show or stuff like that, then you actually look at the team dynamics. So how many people do you usually pull into your brainstorming?
Anywhere from 4 to 8.
Awesome. That's the perfect number. Actually, size matters is one of the Da Vinci principles, and it's the number 7. Why 7? Because if you have less than 7, you don't get diversified thinking. If you're over 7, what happens really quickly is people start to shut down due to group dynamics. Either A, you're an introvert and you're really worried you'll get judged by your ideas, or there's just too many people trying to get the mic and you just don't get your turn, so you sort of zone out.
Yeah.
So that's the next one. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So you've got your North Star. What do you want to get done? Well, we're going to create a new hammock. The next thing is, well, who do we have to jam with? And what is the group dynamics? The third one is, how do you inspire people to think different? Yeah. Probably the number one problem you run into with brainstorming is people just show up in a room. And typically what you do is you fall back on your life experiences. And sometimes those are valuable. But my goal is always, I'm going to get you to think different. I want you to empathetically look at something from a different perspective. So everybody in their mind right now is thinking a hammock, 2 trees, you've got the thing going, stuff like that. Well, to get you to think differently, what you need to do is sort of look out and figure out, all right, well, what would be inspiration? What would be something out there to get people to think different? And you can look at innovation from other categories. There's a lot of different ways to do that. So you would kick off your session with a few ideas on, well, what if we did this or what if we did that? Then you get into the brainstorming. Now, what I love about your show is you take the positivity to the extreme, which is extremely important in brainstorming. it's like you cannot be negative. You only have so much time. Let's say we're going to brainstorm for the next 40 minutes. How I would usually do that is it's only coming up with positive ideas. So this is where I lean on. Did you ever take an improv class?
Yeah.
Okay.
He has. I have not.
Okay. Are you familiar with the yes and exercise?
I am.
Yes.
It's the number one rule.
It's the number one rule. That's the number one rule in brainstorming. No, we don't use the word but, because many of us are wired from a critical nature to say, including myself, to go, well, you're thinking about what's wrong with that idea as opposed to how can you take that idea to another level.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the yes and part of it is critical. Then you infuse it with other things. There's different methods. There's over 20 methods I use just to get people to think different. Think of this one. And what was going through my mind, Gavin, when you were talking about your hammock, was this premise called idea anarchy. So if all hammocks are strung between two different poles, what would be idea anarchy? What would be just flipping that on its side? And that's where my mind immediately went to, 4 hammocks combined at a center. So idea anarchy is actually taking and defining the status quo and then just flipping it around. And people just get unleashed when you say, okay, let's do this. Let's think about the possibility of just creating the ultimate hammock that's never been done before.
Yeah.
Now, after that, you can do several things. One thing that you got anywhere from 4 to 8, which is good. But at times, I'll bring in what I'll call a guest artist. And a guest artist is somebody who brainstorms who you don't know. Because odds are with your show, and if you work, especially if you work together for a while, you start to think alike. You start to play on each other by bringing somebody. Let's say you brought me in. I don't know you that well, obviously, and I would bring in a stimulus that would force you to think different because I'm not part of your group think. And group think's not a bad thing. That's part of group dynamics. It's all good, but often it could get you in a rut. So you may bring in a stimulus. You may decide to go to a different location just for inspiration, which is the next one, is how do you get the ideas to the next level? And finally, you wrap it up with how do you make it actionable? And this is where you're going to come up with a lot of great ideas. Now you have to make them happen. And so let's say we came up with the octopus hammock. Everybody, we're going to actually make it into a brainstorming hammock. 8 people and a facilitator all around. Now we're going to have to rely on people like Gavin, who are expert hammock makers, to figure out how to make it a reality. And you may pull in some engineers or stuff like that. You may realize, okay, it's not doable. Then you ask this question, well, what is? What could we do?
Well, it's funny because when you said that, I immediately thought of an octopus, but upside down in a sense. So how you have that sort of octopus head, if you had it upside down, that could be another pouch for a person or storage or whatever. And then each tentacle arm is its own little hammock cubby that a person would slide into.
See, we're already rethinking it.
There we go. Yeah. I like that. It's a fun idea.
It's hard enough to find 2 trees that are spaced out enough. How are you going to find one for 8 people? That's like taking up a whole camping site.
I mean, I have no trees in my backyard, and I made the hammock.
See, that's why Gavin is the expert. Sell it. Then go out and sell it on eBay. The octo hammock. Go on eBay and just sell it. Now, that sort of gives you a flow through brainstorming. You ask an interesting question, why Da Vinci? And I get that a lot. I researched a lot of artists as a part of this, and actually having ADD and I love rabbit holes, I would be watching documentary after documentary on artists, and most of them are not in the book. I just thoroughly enjoy the creative process of how did you come up with this? And Da Vinci to me is the ultimate Renaissance man. He just, it's not just, about this, the whole thing with the fresco and Mona Lisa, but it's the other stuff he did, the science, the anatomy and everything else. It was just time consuming. I was just digging it. And it got to a point where he became the cornerstone of why I wrote the book, because he was a divergent thinker.
Okay.
And what you usually have is 2 types of thinkers, divergence and convergence. Divergence is about asking why. Why does a hammock only have 2 poles? and stuff like that. Convergence would be more of, okay, I've got to put a hammock up in my backyard and I don't have any trees. So it's more of getting to an answer to a question. Divergence is where you come up with really cool ideas. Eventually, you do need to go to the convergence side to figure out how to make it a reality. But many people walk into brainstorming with this idea of answering a question as opposed to asking, what if? And Da Vinci was a what if type of guy.
So with him, have you, all right, what is your hobby? Like Gavin builds hammocks and beds and everything. How do you do your thing to keep your creativity going? Like Gavin just said, like he said earlier in the show, I wanted to build a hammock so I can lay there and hang in a hammock. When you think outside the box like Da Vinci, what is your thing that makes Eric?
Actually, it's any form of creation. I'm a creator, not a maintainer. You don't want me running a group. I would drive people insane because I'd be asking what if all the time. And that's one of the things you come up with in your career to figure out who you are and who you are and who you're not. So I have a lot of passions. I have done a lot of oil painting in my past. My current passion, which is home brewing. So I actually brew a lot of beer, drink a lot of it, which is, not just the maker, the creator, but the consumer.
You got to make sure it's quality.
That's right. And so it's like, that's probably one of the biggest things I'm doing right now. But the beauty is what I do for a living, I'm always creating with different teams, different clients. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. I love that. So I'm going through your website and I could pull it up in a second, but I don't want to lose my spot. You have, are you ready to lead a whole bunch of like step, jump, lead? You have a whole bunch of different things everybody can look into.
Right.
The one that caught my attention, they all did, just being honest, from the idea of anarchy, disrupting the status quo, to the mimic and empathetic journey. I loved the empathetic journey. Can you explain? I'm going to pull this up on the screen for everybody to see it. Can you explain what these are so everybody can get a better understanding? Because I'm curious more about this, like the mimic one with the empathetic journey and how this works. Can you explain a little bit about each one of these?
Sure. Every one of these, if you were to get the book, and or these are actually on cards also, and these are example of the cards. Everyone has a story about an artist that relates to a method. And I always thought it was interesting because different artists, in this case, it was Daniel Day-Lewis, inspired me. So you're familiar with method acting, obviously.
Yes.
Are you familiar with how extreme Daniel Day-Lewis is?
I've heard, but I'm not extensively researched.
So let me give you an example. When he filmed In the Name of the Father, which is about a guy during the Dublin, it's more the Northern Ireland conflict. He was wrongly accused and put in prison for 20 years. So to prepare for the role, what he did was he, first of all, only ate prison rations and lost over 50 pounds. He regularly slept at night in the cell on set. And he actually paid real policemen to interrogate him for 3 straight days.
Really?
Yeah. And it's like, it's just like the ultimate extreme. So why is this important to brainstorming? Well, I was talking about getting out of yourself and getting out of your comfort zone. Well, it's about empathy. So mimic is really cool. What you do is you walk in the shoes of somebody you're brainstorming about. So for example, about 15 years or so ago, I was working on Dodge and we were launching a new vehicle called the Dodge Caliber. And Dodge asked the agency I was working for at the time, going, you know what? I really don't think we actually relate to millennials well as far as the car buying process. And they didn't. So they go, but we would like you guys to crack the code to figure out, well, how should we change how we sell vehicles to the younger generation? So what I did is the day before the brainstorming, I took everybody who could pass for a millennial, which honestly was everybody but me. And I sent them out to go to a Dodge dealership and 2 competitors. The next day we showed up and ideas were just flowing out of them because they walked in the shoes of the target. They played the role. So whenever possible, I love doing the mimic as a way to inspire people prior to a brainstorming session and get out of your own personality, get out of your own skin and life experiences. And it works wonderfully.
Mm. So with all of this, you've been a teacher, you've worked with a lot of different places. How, like, all right, with that, I think my biggest question is, do you get hired like as a consultant to be able to connect with these businesses, or have you had businesses that you were hired to be the Dodge guy that you're going to help market to millennials and all that? Like, how do you come about this? Because you've had a lot of really interesting jobs from your bio even.
Well, for the longest time I had jobs. The problem is I ended up with a 666, I called it, job career. 6 months of a honeymoon, 6 months to get tired of it, and 6 months to find a new job. And it's not, 666 Christ, Antichrist, but it's like, and I realized this is a bad pattern to be on.
Mm-hmm.
So about 5 years ago, I got cut loose from a job because we lost a significant piece of business. And in advertising, it happens on a regular basis. It just is. You have a piece of business, you lose it, you cut about a third of your workforce. So I was sitting there, I'm going, well, what do I do now? And I decided, instead of working for somebody else, I'm just going to do my own thing. And so I work with a lot of different clients, work with different agencies in the Detroit area and beyond, lead brainstorming sessions for different clients. So this is a passion that I've pretty much spun into a full-time gig.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Are you in Detroit now?
Yep.
We're in Cleveland. I didn't even catch that. So it's like you're a lot closer than most of our guests.
I was trying to guess where you are. I was trying to decipher your accents.
What accents? I don't hear it, but that's probably because
You'll never be able to guess mine. Yeah.
Oh no, the Midwestern accent. Now, when you get up to Michigan, you get this combination of Canadian and Kentucky combined.
Yes, that's a great analogy.
And your head starts to hurt. You're going, what the hell is that?
Right.
So, yeah.
So, as a leader and someone who's been like in charge of a lot of things, there's times where it's really difficult to be the leader. Like, I'm like you, ADD, I'm ADHD, I'm always on the move. I have a million things in my head at once. It's hard to let go. When you're the person in charge, how do you lead your team while staying like with that creative mindset? Because like you said yourself, you can get pulled aside. You don't want to lead. You want to be the one that helps create everything.
Right.
And I'm a creator. I make the thing happen that nobody says can happen. And then when I have to lead the team, I'm like, why don't they see my vision? So how would you build that?
Well, that'd probably be the worst way to brainstorm, Brandon, is to say, okay, I have the answer, guys. Here it is. No, I'm just
no, that's true though. You're 100% right.
Well,
and that's
so here I'm gonna give you a little 101 on how we can unleash the inner Brandon here. Okay, you ready?
Okay.
The fact you have ADHD and you actually love coming up with ideas, and for the brief time I've talked with you, you seem to have a great personality. You need to think of, if you lead brainstorming, think of it like a performance art. And I heard this from somebody else who brainstormed a lot with me. I talked to a lot of my peers as I was creating this, and the person nailed it. So when I brainstorm, I actually am putting on a show when I'm leading. Okay. And what I mean by that is that positivity. I have to be at a higher level of energy than anybody else in the room. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, then they get down to the 4 C's, because if nothing else, I like alliteration. Mm-hmm. So it's create, collaborate, cultivate, and challenge. So think of it this way. You like to add ideas. So, and this is the fallacy of brainstorming, is people think you should facilitate. You're the sticky notes guy. No, you're an active part. You're throwing ideas out too. Cultivate is you challenge the ideas to make them better. And I love this term I came up with. It's called positive death.
Ooh.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that.
I do.
It came several decades ago. I was working with this wonderful creative director. And anytime you tried to reason with him, what he would do is take it to the more extreme, because he wanted to be ultimately positive. And I go, well, instead of trying to reason, how about I ride the crazy train to see how far we could take this?
Yeah.
And so what I did is we kept on doing that improv. What if? Yes, and yes, and yes, and, till the point he goes, okay, time out, uncle, we're done. But it's better to kill an idea through positivity than to outright kill it because you're finding flaws. And that's where that cultivate comes in. How do you use that positivity? And the other one is choreograph, and then contribute is where you bring in your ideas. So often when I'm creating inspirational content for brainstorming, I can imagine if you two did it too, you're getting ideas already.
Yeah.
Well, what you do is you take those ideas, put them in your hip pocket, and bring them into the session. You don't lead with your ideas, though. There's ebbs and flows in brainstorming. You wait till there's a little bit of a dead period, and you throw your idea out. Sometimes it catches fire. Sometimes it's nothing. It's like you can't be overly attached to your ideas too. So you got to have very low ego. But
I think that comes with learning how to just take criticism and failure in general. When you have somebody who has been given or is used to getting things right away, or hasn't learned how to deal with, no, maybe not, we can try this instead, then you get that, like you said, that ego trying to set that aside. How do you, like, how long did it take you to figure out how to sort of put that ego aside? Because you're a very creative human being. I know that you've had a million ideas that either you or someone else has shut down before you get to those big ones that you really love. How do you sort of learn how to put that ego aside?
I guess let's put it this way. Putting your ego aside is an interesting phrase. So let me put it this way. I love what I do. I love the ideas I come up with, but the reality is not every idea is going to be a home run. Yeah. So you can't take them personal. And so what you do is you throw ideas out, you build on other ideas. And this is where you get into an interesting term, the me versus the we. The me is, think of businesses that are me-oriented that actually think they know any more than any of their employees. So they just come up with the ideas and they ask people to impose them. The we, though, is really working with others to come up with great ideas. So think of it this way. When I'm generating ideas, I take just as much pleasure in building on other ideas as generating my own. So that way you become part of vested. And honestly, to get stuff done, Gavin, if we're going to do your octo hammock, we're going to need more people. We got to make it more people's ideas. And so if you're going to be all about your idea, it's my idea, and I'm going to do it all, it may happen, but odds are it's not going to happen quickly.
Yeah, you're going to need to be in a position of power in order for that. You're going to need to be like head of the team, so that way you can at least delegate, hey, this is what we're doing right now. This is the job I'm hiring you for.
Right. If you want to go that route, my view is always going, all right, how do we generate a lot of ideas? What are the best ones using the positive depth? And then I hate to say it, but this is where your ego totally gets in check. Probably about 20% of the great ideas I worked with teams to create actually saw reality. It's just because in the business world, you have egos, politics, obviously money. Not everything is going to get done. You can't hang your ego on an idea. You should try like heck if you are passionate, believe in it, to make it happen. But it's interesting when I say that 20%, because people go, well, they all happen. No, not really. Not so much. And that's okay, because you're always generating new ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So as I like how you have business, money, power, all those different things in there, how does someone keep their ego in check from being the person that's the leader in charge to being a person who maybe doesn't feel heard? They want to make sure they get their voice in there. How do you make sure that everybody's ego is kept in check and not blown up?
Wow. By and large, there are things you could do, but sometimes
I'm not used to somebody saying, wow.
Well, it's a loaded question, because when I've run some brainstorming sessions, I've actually had to tell people to get out.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I actually partner. We do master classes on this, and I partner with a friend of mine who was a global head of HR for several agencies. And we talk about this, is that this isn't team building. This is generating ideas to move your business forward. In your case, it'd be like, okay, let's say you guys brainstorm tomorrow, and this would be a fun session to do. Get in the team and go, all right, guys, I want to put ideas out there to double our viewership in the next 60 days. Okay. And it's very interesting, because what I said, it double is a big deal, because you could come up with ideas to improve viewership, but to get double, it's got to be some pretty big ideas. Now, So somebody may go, well, this is my idea. This is my idea. That's the person you don't want in the room because they're not generating ideas. They're more interested in getting credit for their ideas.
That's a very good point.
And that's where the we comes in. Funny story is like I worked on an agency. This predated me, McCann Erickson. They came up with the Pure Michigan campaign, which I'm sure in Ohio you see a lot of Pure Michigan ads.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the agency actually won the pitch in 2006, but they didn't like the name. And I can't even remember what the name was. So the client got together with the agency, and there's probably about 16 people in the room, and they're throwing out ideas. And somebody threw up Pure Michigan. To this day, nobody knows who came up with it, but all 16 people take credit.
Ha!
And you know what? That's the we. That's what you want. You want people buying into the idea, not going, this is my idea.
Yeah.
Huh.
And not
So
everybody, but not everybody can do that, by the way.
No, I think trying to control somebody's ego is trying to control how somebody breathes. You know, you can tell them exercise, you can give them advice, you can do this and there, but it's ultimately their decision to take deeper breaths, to calm down, to do whatever they need to do to get where they need to be.
Right. Now, there are things you can do if you know, like sometimes you have no choice but to have that person in your room.
Yeah.
So there's a tactic I use. I keep saying in the book. I'm not pushing the book as much as saying it's in the book. Called the idea speed round. And this is really interesting. Conceptually imagine like one of those little timers you have, like when you're playing some board games or stuff like that. And what you do is you could run this. Now you could do this with a clock on your phone, doesn't matter, but you only spend a few minutes on each idea. Why does this work well? Well, if somebody walks in, let's say we'll just call the person Brandon for the fun of it. And he says, I have this idea. I have this figured out, guys. And then you do an idea speed round and you go, for the next hour, we're going to generate as many ideas as possible. We're still going to get Brandon's idea down, but then we're going to come up with 50 more.
Yeah.
So it's a way to hear the person who has that idea so everybody feels involved, but not to fixate on an idea and beat it literally to death.
Yeah.
It's just an awful idea and everybody's sick of hearing about it.
So how long should a team spend on ideas?
Oh, that's where the facilitator comes in. That's where I like to call it an idea architect. You got to know when you're talking about an idea, certain things you'll throw an idea out. Let's say we're going to double your viewership in 60 days. Okay.
Okay.
You throw it out and somebody throws in an idea and everybody's just ripping off it. You feel it. You feel the passion for it. You keep going. You may go for 3 minutes. You may go for 10 minutes, but you go while people still have the passion.
Yeah.
Then somebody else throws an idea out and you just like crickets. Well, now typically what I will do when I'm leading a session is you spin it, you flip it. Well, can it work? How does it meet the objective? You can play with the idea to see if there's anything there, but after 30 seconds, you may go, yeah, let's move on.
Yeah.
So it does vary by idea, but your goal is to really tap into the passion of the team.
With COVID here, did it make it easier to connect because then everybody's already at their house, they're in their comfort zone? Did it open up people's creativity, or did it kind of limit it because of being a digital divide in between?
It's funny you bring that up because at the time, first of all, I never did what I call Zoom storming prior to COVID. And I was actually against it because I like the personal contact of being in the room and doing stuff. Well, at the time, I was doing some brainstorming for Jeep's product development team through an agency called Rebuild. And we were meeting up with them to rethink the 2024 models for Jeep, which is some really cool brainstorming. We were planned to do 4 2-hour sessions. Only 2 were done when COVID hit. And then FCA or Chrysler said, everybody go home. And we had to figure out how to finish it. And so although I was against doing Zoom storming, not only did I figure out a way to do it, I found out the approach that actually I was using for years works awesome. So think about it this way. Let's say you get your peeps on there. You got 6 to 8 people on there. Well, the beauty is you can see everybody in that gallery view. Okay. And the other thing is that you can see everybody's eye contact. Now, some people are very good at typing emails while they're talking, but as the facilitator, as the idea architect, you go around, you engage people. You make sure everybody's involved. So while I still would prefer to do it in person, honestly, I have no qualms, and I've done many over the last year plus through Zoom or products like that.
Now, with that being said, how have you felt with the digital stuff? Have you been able to, like, honestly, I picture it being where you said like a group of 8 or 7 is your perfect number.
Yeah.
If 7's the one to have there, I've seen us have conference calls where we have 10 people on, and there's almost too many because some people aren't talking at all. And like you said, they zone out. With that being there, how do you keep the creativity where everybody keeps going? That's tough, especially digitally.
It is tough, but these methods, now think about the mimic. We just talked about that.
Yeah.
So you're gonna channel your inner Daniel Day-Lewis, and I'll have people go do an exercise prior to the brainstorming. So you still do these things ahead of time to get people psyched.
Yes.
In this session, and I've been doing this now, I've done sticky notes, flip charts, and everything else. Where I landed, and I've been doing it probably this way for about 15 years now, is using just a word processor.
Okay.
Why does that work? Well, let's say you're in a conference room and everybody's on the side of the table and you've got that big digital plasma up front, that digital screen. As I'm typing, they're seeing the words flow, and this is not dictation. I don't type down every word. You type down the ideas and people rip off of it. And so they're seeing it dynamically build in front of them. Well, serendipity occurs, COVID comes along, Zoom casting's a reality, Word works just as well. So the approach actually seamlessly went in there, and I had no problems. If I was using sticky notes, that would have been a pain in the butt, I would assume.
Yeah, I'm picturing like have you like the Bruce Almighty where he's like,
yes,
he's got all the prayers all up on the wall and everything.
Yeah, that's what it would be. Is literally that. It's like,
yeah,
you know, and there's rooms you can get and stuff like that. So there's ways to do it, but yeah.
If you were to go back, this is just going to be me, Gavin. You know, you got to jump in because I have questions written from this morning, and you know I'm always going to be able to come up with something on the spot. But like, if you were able to go back and teach yourself a lesson from when you first started all of this, from like learning how to build your teams to being the guy that has to sit there as not the leader, you're the ADHD guy who's coming up with stuff. What would you want to give yourself as advice to help build yourself into being who you are today and maybe maximize it even better for yourself?
Probably the one thing I would say, and it took me a while to do this, is 2 things actually. And it was sort of an evolution of figuring out who I was. First is, don't take everything personal.
Okay.
Because a lot of times when you're first early in your career and stuff like that, and especially if you do wonderful work, you lay all your ego on your work. And then if it's not yours, like we talked about this already, you tend to take it personal. You feel slighted. That was the first breakthrough for me, is just don't take it personal. The other one is understanding how I'm wired. So, God, throughout my career, I've probably taken about 4 or 5 Myers-Briggs tests. Have you ever taken one of these?
Yes.
No.
Oh, well, it's an interesting introspection. I mean, the first few times I took it was an HR person who gave it to me, and she goes, "You're blank, blank, blank." And I went, "F you." I mean, I'm not. I was in that whole 20-something, don't define me type of stage. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I took it another time, but this time was different. They had a professor from a local university come in, and he was explaining it to us. And it really helped me understand really what I was good at intrinsically versus things that were really stuff that I tried to do that physically I'm not wired to do. And in a nutshell, when I looked up my Myers-Briggs profile, it was like an aha moment. It says you're a creator, not a maintainer.
Yeah.
And I probably spent a decade trying to manage people. And to be honest with you, I love working with people. Probably not the greatest manager. So,
and, but you learn that as a creator. Like, all right, like how do you drop your ego, especially on teams with like Jeep? And like, I'm trying to remember other ones, but I know the Jeep one was a big one. But like, you've had a lot of these different teams where you're trying to fill the gap in a marketing way. And there's a lot of ego in that room. How do you keep the ego down? That's a tough one. I'm sorry. I know I've kind of catching you off guard with that one.
Actually, the Jeep team, I had no problem.
Okay.
No.
Have you had a team?
So some teams already stormed and normed, and they already work well together. So when you work with them, it's like I still remember working on Ford F-150. That team was tight. Their problem was a little bit too tight and a lot of group think, but they were wonderful to work with because they just worked together. Usually occurs when you bring people in that are not used to working together.
Yeah.
Then you get you get these bad negative behaviors like Mike Hogg, grandstanding, ass kissing. I mean, you get this stuff out there that are just negative attributes because somebody is using it more as a political means as opposed to the true intent of what the brainstorming is about. So, then you have to step in.
Do you think that it's possible, backtracking a little bit here, do you think it's possible for somebody who is that more creative mindset to learn how to be organized and go into that also that leadership mindset? Or do you think, and that being said as well, do you think that it's possible for a more leadership mindset who's very, very organized to learn how to break away into that more creative mindset as well and sort of play in both sides?
Here's the crappiest answer. It depends.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's a great question. Actually, it's come up a lot. Some people are not meant to be leaders. Some people will never get in front of a room. And usually people know that already. That's not something that's a huge revelation to go, oh my God, I never thought it would suck. You know, it's like the other one that's more interesting is when you have a delusional perspective of yourself. And you're put in front of things, not negative things could happen. Yeah. But the interesting part is creativity and leadership to me are two separate things. They're in parallel. So you could be a creative leader or a creative non-leader. It could go either way. Yeah. So when I look at creativity, you always got to assess, is that person a leader? Can they get up in front? And this is the biggest one. I swear to God, Gavin, can you let your own ideas go?
Yeah.
Many times I've worked with wonderful creative directors, and they get up and here's the idea, guys, and their entire team is deflated.
Yeah.
It's like, well, thanks for getting us together. Well, no. I need you now to make this a reality. That's just deflating.
Yeah. I think that's sorry, I lost my train of thought for a moment. No, that's is important, is to be able to take that back seat and be able to say, hey, you know, maybe somebody else can take the reins on this one. I got nothing for it. There's a lot of people, I've noticed a lot of people, when they want to be a leader, they want to have all the answers all the time. They want to be the one to always have the answers. They want to show their team that they can take charge no matter what the situation is. And that's not often what a leader is. Somebody who is saying, not what can I do for me, but what can I do for you guys?
Actually, that's
and how can you work with me?
That's a great observation. I'm going to twist your words a little bit, but I love what you
please
said.
Do. Yeah.
Leaders get the best out of their people.
Yes, there you go.
Leaders is not about them. The worst leader is the one where it is that me. It's always about my idea. Yeah, it's fueling and get your people passionate to bring out the best in them. Yeah. And that to me is really what you want to be doing, not just with brainstorming, it's with everything.
Yeah. I think another thing too is oftentimes the most important leader is usually the first follower.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Actually, it's funny is in the brainstorming, you don't always have to lead. You can somebody will come up with an idea, you go, well, that's interesting, Gavin. What would you do next? What would you do next? Then you go, Brandon, weigh in on Gavin's idea. Sometimes it's getting the collaborative juices going, and you're just the catalyst is all you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when concerts were still a thing, I was at a show and I saw this guy just dancing by himself and in the middle of the field.
I love that video.
Yeah, you've seen that. Yeah.
I
He's just
love
going
that video.
off. Yeah, he's just going off, and then that one person comes over, and they're saying how he's the first leader by being the first follower,
and then
everybody else joins over and becomes a huge group.
By the way, I love that video. It's one of my favorite video group dynamics. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
How were you as a kid? I'm picturing you being part of the team, right? Like you got put on a team. I just picture you doing a group project, and I have a feeling you and I were the same. And everybody on the team is like, he's going to bring something creative, and then all of a sudden, like, they don't know what to expect. You're either going to be the one that helps do it to all the work, or you do the one that just comes up with the idea. And I feel like I was always that in my teams. Like, I was always the idea or did all the work. What was growing up for you like, being able to turn into a group dynamics teacher?
Well, I had 4 brothers to start out, so there's 5 of us.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so to be honest with you, your ego was automatically in check because you don't get a lot of attention and you had to fight for it. But as far as projects and stuff, I would almost to a fault be creative in sometimes because I did not like doing the status quo. So where, if you're doing a science project, they expect you to be this. I'm out here, frogs are flying, crap's happening, and then I get a D because it's like, you just took it to an absurd level. Yeah. So at times it worked wonderfully, and I totally empathize with where you're coming from. At times, I probably should have let other people lead that were more versed in the subject.
That's when you see that, how do you know that's your time to back off as the leader?
Actually, I have no problem with it now because I took a job probably about 20 years ago, and I always thought I was an intelligent guy. And I met these people, they were working on AI systems for a tech room and, neural nets and shit like that. I went, no matter if I study for the rest of my life, I'm never going to be as bright as these people. So that humility right there just spun me on a different course. And I remember I talked about don't take everything personally, but also made me realize that there's a lot of people out there with wonderful ideas. Your job is to get the best out of them.
Yeah.
You don't need to know everything they do. I mean, when I was working with Jeep, I don't know. It's really a funny story of how that occurred because I met with this guy who's a product designer, and this group rebuild got us a meeting. And I go, well, I don't know what to say to this guy. I never built a car. I wouldn't know what to say to Gavin. I never built a hammock. So what I sat down, I said, look, here's what I do. I actually create experiences that get people excited, that really help you sell products. And while I don't know anything about, building a Jeep, I do know a lot about how you actually could create a newer Jeep experience or build on the Jeep experience. Yeah. And he loved that because he goes, the problem is we're so fixated on the sheet metal and that we need to take that more empathetic view. So it's sort of, and I'm not always the right facilitator for every type of thing. I mean, I'd be probably awful at HR facilitation because I'm an HR nightmare. So, but it's understanding where you fit in and just as importantly, where you don't, and bring somebody else who's a better fit.
So then as a leader, would you say that it's more important to be knowledgeable about the trade or the product, whatever it is you're trying to sell or create? Or would it be more productive to be knowledgeable in the social aspect and charismatic in order to inspire people to want to work on your product or your business?
I'm biased, but my answer is the latter. But I'm going to, again, like everything else on this show, I'm going to twist it a little bit. I love the social aspects. I'm a believer that social emotional drives everything. It drives how you should create a product. It drives how you should sell a product. And so, and it drives how you should run an organization. And so it's a thread that runs through all of this. So my 2 passions are really consumer behavior and organizational behavior. And that's maybe why I ended up doing what I do. And it's all social emotional. This isn't about ads, guys. This is about how do I emotionally connect with somebody and get them freaking excited.
Yeah. That's what you do when you have an ad. You're selling an emotion.
Yep. It actually, again, rephrase just slightly because I'm a little picky. You're creating a brand connection. Think about all the ads you see in a given day, or when's the last time you clicked on a banner ad? It's freaking amazing how many ads are out there that are doing next to nothing because they're not making that emotional connection.
That's true. How you have to know your audience, obviously,
right?
But how has the .com wave affected what you've been doing and all this?
It actually helped me find my place. What I mean by that is prior to that, I was doing advertising and I got an MBA because I figured advertising is not for me. It didn't click. And then .com took off. And I started building websites. I started creating experiences. And that started tapping into my true passion, which getting back to the social emotional. Yeah. And then it just took off from there. And I went from agency to agency, just building small, medium, ginormous, new word, ginormous websites. It's just like, it was a lot of fun. And that really, it was an interesting perspective of how to actually create that brand connection.
Mm-hmm. I love that. People buy emotions, as Brett Gordon says, and justify it with logic. I think that's a well way of saying that. And I think the digital point is one that comes along with it because like you said, how many have clicked on banner ad recently and all that? Like during the election, how many times did you hear clickbait? See, I knew I could get that one.
Well, the logic. Well, let me touch on that a second. My youngest brother, way back when, bought a new Saturn, and he told me it's the most logical purchase. And I'm thinking, BS. There's nothing about a car that's logical. And what was really interesting is he actually told me he saved $15 by not getting the passenger side rear view mirror. I didn't even know you could do this.
I did not have a clue on that.
It's illegal to do now, but back then. So was he passionate about a Saturn? No, but he was passionate about the fact he saved money.
Yeah.
So his frugalness was the passion. It was the emotion that drove it. And that poster was right. So many people justify their emotions with logic. And it's that left brain part of your brain that says, well, I need my ego to feel good about this purchase, but the right brain's driving it. The right brain.
Yeah, deals like that always made me laugh. Like I went and did a subscription. There's some new detergents that's like all natural, it dissolves, it's really good for the environment kind of thing. I wanted to try it out, so I went ahead and I ordered a box of it. And then they were trying to sell me another like 16 boxes for this deal where I would save like $100. I'd save like $100 or $70, something like that. And I thought to myself, no, I'm not. I'm spending another $80. I'm not saving anything.
So it's you're wired. This is interesting. Some people are wired to save money. Some people don't care. They're price blind.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the psychology of marketing is fascinating because it's like it's not homogenous. Everybody's just a little bit different. And when you're doing marketing, you got to figure out the emotional underpinnings of what's going to drive that.
Yeah.
I agree. What has been your biggest struggle through all of this?
Which part?
That's up to you to choose. like Aldi's is a company that's I love that you have Aldi's on there because they're known as like a thrifty type of store. Like it's like the affordable one or the lower one. But I would go to Aldi's over a Walmart. I think Aldi's has better organic stuff. So for that, you've had a lot of different like companies that you've worked with that they have to find a way to market to their people. So a struggle could be, I had to figure out how to help Aldi's look like less of a low income store to high income, to being Jeep more than just the thing you use to off road and stuff like that. What would be a challenge that was one of your bigger challenges?
So that would be the struggle. Yeah, I think you nailed it. And every brand has a challenge. Yeah. And that challenge is that next buyer to get over and above their fan base, for lack of a better word. So let's talk about Aldi a second, because it's dead on point. Aldi had this problem that they were sort of this low scale store because they were very inexpensive in their real estate deals. So they got in a lot of depressed areas. By getting in the depressed areas, it created a stigma with the store.
Correct.
Our job was to remove the stigma. Here's the funny part. And Gavin, you would not fall into this, by the way. They had such a voracious following of Aldi fans. It was amazing. These fans would convince other people. It's almost like, why don't you shop at Aldi? Why are you wasting money?
Yes.
So it's like, they'll appreciate you like their organics, but this fan base is what we tapped into, because you give them something to brag about and they will go and brag about it. It's really funny because as a part of this, for example, my mother, who grew up in the Grand Rapids area, that's where I grew up, very frugal. I think it's one of the most frugal cities in the U.S. They pride themselves on frugalness. And I say, well, if you want to save money, go to Aldi. She goes, it's icky. And I'm going, honestly, that was one of the number one words they used to describe Aldi was icky at the time.
Yeah.
So fast forward, I worked on it for about 3 years. Fast forward 2 years, and I talked to her one week, and she was all excited. I'm going to go to Aldi this week. I go, I've been telling you to go to Aldi for 2 years. What changed? She goes, and I kid you not, she goes, well, I was in my sewing circle, and I'm going, oh, Lord. She's 70. And one of the younger women, now she's 70, so one of the younger women might be, I don't know, in their 60s. Anyway, they were bragging about where they shop. And everybody was shopping at Aldi. We got to go check it out. And this is where you get to that social emotional.
Yeah.
All the ads on earth will pale in comparison to somebody you trust.
Yeah.
So how are you getting people? It's like your viewers. How do you get them excited to talk about, oh my God, you gotta go on. This is coming up. This is great. That's what drives people. No, the ads can help. I'm not saying ads are bad. Please don't misunderstand that. But they don't supersede a conversation of two people.
Yeah. I know a lot of YouTube channels, podcasts, these things that have been blowing up in these past couple of years. They're all word of mouth. You're not seeing ads for the Joe Rogan show. He doesn't pay for ads for his thing. Everything is word of mouth and gets spread around. People enjoy his show. I'm on YouTube all the time. I'm not seeing ads for other people's channels or anything. They're just, sometimes I will, if they're like the advertising or something, I already subscribe to them is the thing.
Right.
I'm seeing them posting stuff about videos that are coming out when I already subscribed to them. I'm not saying, hey, come check out. Like if I wasn't subscribed to our channel, you want to see, hey, come check out the Java Delight. Come check out the Digital Delight Cafe. It's just a word of mouth thing that gets spread around.
Right. For two reasons. One is like-minded individuals congregate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, your job as the host of the show is to give those people who watch your show something to brag about to their social circle.
Mm-hmm.
The more you hear it, the more you get into their sewing circle, the more likely they're going to actually, check you out.
Yeah.
And that's like with Joe Rogan. I mean, a lot of these people grow up because it's just audacious. I mean, I was fascinated. I have two teenagers. I watched what they're actually attracted to. Yeah. And you could backtrack 99% of the time. They heard it from a friend.
Yeah.
Whether it's TikTok, it doesn't matter what it is, honestly.
They share it to each other, like having that, like when you have a TikTok video that you're like, oh, I got to make you see, you got to see this. That's how they end up finding each other, is they did that. Just like here today, having you on talking about the building and all that of brainstorming with a team. It kept an audience that wants to focus on building their teams. Like you kept the attention and brought the energy like we look for. So you're a great interview, Eric. I love everything you're doing. Honestly, like you brought a wealth of knowledge. I have your website here, and I've already shared it wrong once today. I tried to share the Amazon link, and it sent just Amazon, and I'm like, that's not what I typed. Like, but I was like laughing at myself. I'm like, that's great. So something we do here at the end of every episode is we talk about a way to spread positivity, leave everybody with a word of positivity and good thoughts through their day. With this coming to an end, we only have like 5-7 minutes left. What I do is Gavin and I go and give that word of affirmation, and Gavin goes first, I go second, and then you get to go third. And what you do is you'll see how quick it flows, how simple it is, but it's about making sure we leave the guests with that joy of finishing up their day strong and keep pushing through. I want to start by saying thank you very much, Eric. Great interview, great energy. You kept the laughter going and everything. It was wonderful. Guys, go check out Eric's book, Brainstorming with Da Vinci. Not painting with Da Vinci, brainstorming with Da Vinci. Gavin, show us how it's done.
Absolutely. So from every episode, there's always something that I like to take away and keep in mind throughout the day. And for this episode, the thing that I would like to take away from it is the ability to be able to know when to take the back seat. Whether you are the leader of a group, conversation, or just presenting an idea, make sure that you know when you are able to take the back seat to let other people speak, because either they are more knowledgeable than you, have more ability than you, or simply can benefit your original idea and take it to that next level. It's okay to sometimes give up control of things in your life.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Very well said. Very well said, Gavin. I'm going to kind of lean in on that one with him. Being able to give up control is really difficult. We all feel that when we've given up control, we've maybe been stabbed in the back. We've been hurt by others. We don't feel everybody's carrying their weight sometimes, but those are all excuses. As Eric said, it's not about how. It's not about having the answer. It's about having the team have the answer. It's about getting to the outcome, getting through that creative process. And sometimes you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. And I think that being able to know that that's what you're focused on is building that omelet and building the best for the future, for the company, for yourself, for whatever it may be, that helps break down the ego, knowing you're doing it for more than just yourself. Mr. Eric.
Nice. Mine is actually something I actually own. It's living the improv. It's living the yes and. While I talk about it in brainstorming, I've actually used it more, just as much, if not more, in life. Is instead of finding out what's wrong with something, build upon it. Find out the positivity. Find out how to make it better. The yes and is just a very powerful phrase to live your life by. Whether it's in a personal situation or a group situation. So that would be my take on that.
I love it. Very well said. Very well said. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Java Delight, a shot of Java to help you get through your day with a delight to help you find the positivity in it. Eric, thank you again. Everybody go check out his book, Brainstorming with Da Vinci. Eric, we hope to have you back sometime soon. And guys, my name's Brandon. Gavin, Eric, I'm used to being on that side. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you for joining us this morning. Go spread positivity and be the light in the world.